Hi, I'm Tuscany. I said that I was going to start a little video about my conversion story, so here it is. I'm going to try to shoot this all in like one take, maybe two. It was like a month after graduating when I actually took my Shahada. I came from a very little town called Ladoga, Indiana. Very small. Probably only have like 1,000 residents total, maybe a mile wide. I don't actually know. I really loved it there, but like everyone was Christian. You just kind of had your choice of churches to pick from. So I decided to look elsewhere. I raised myself pagan. And you're like, wait, what? Seriously, I was like into flowers, birds, the whole worshiping trees thing. Because my dad was atheist, and if he preached anything at all, it was more pagan stuff. So that's what I grew up with. I decided I wanted to go into a more monotheistic path. So I went to church with one of my friends like 3 years ago. She's a Pentecostal, so I became Pentecostal because I thought, well, this idea of God's really cool. I like it. There were certain things that I understood and took in very quickly, such as the idea of, being modest, covering more. And this is something I found in Pentecostalism, long sleeves, long skirts. But I was like, I think this is something I want to do, but I couldn't understand the trending. People tried to explain it to me, and I was like, okay, I get Jesus is really awesome, but how is God limited? I couldn't understand how someone could say that God was limited, because by putting him in a human, God is now limited. But they say, no, but at the same time, God is everywhere. I'm like, what? So I thought, this isn't for me if it's not something that I can readily understand and want to embrace. I really don't think anyone should ever embrace a belief system that they don't get or understand. Some people are probably going to disagree with me. That's fine, whatever. So I went out and I thought, what haven't I looked into? I really had no idea. So I was on Twitter, and I found this girl. Her name is Anis. She's still on my Twitter, which, by the way, you can find me at @Tuscany Pulliam. That's my Twitter. Anyway, so I found Anis, and she was talking about Allah and like all these cool things about Allah, and I was like, I don't know anything about Allah. I don't know anything about Islam at all. So she posted these pictures of Mecca. I was like enamored. I thought, why? This is so beautiful. All these people come from all over the world to just go to this black box. I thought that's still pretty cool. I told my parents, I said, I think I want to write a paper. I want to be Muslim for a month. The more I thought about it, immediately, the more I thought about it, I thought, I can't just be Muslim for a month. That's stupid. And I don't think God would like that if I just randomly changed my faith for a month. So I thought, okay, not gonna do that. Instead, I'll look into it more. So I took another month of just reading and reading and reading and reading, because I didn't have a job, I didn't have school. I just had myself to deal with. So, like I said, I started with the easiest books ever. I bought myself a Quran. I bought Islam for Dummies. I bought this book called Quran for the Infidel, which is actually supposed to, it sounds terrible, right? It's this, like, comical thing on explaining the Quran to people who don't understand the Quran. Anyway, so it was actually really, I understood it really well. And immediately, I started reading the Quran, starting from chapter 4, Ananis. The women, or the woman, depending on which translation you read in English. I understood so much, and I thought it was really awesome that Allah had created an entire chapter just for me, a woman, to understand everything as easy as possible. The Quran is so much easier to read than the Bible, I thought, but since I had been a Christian, I had read the Bible, so I also had a deep respect for the fact that all Muslims are supposed to believe in the Torah, the Bible, as well as the Quran. So, I had read the Gospels. That's actually technically what we believe in instead of the entire Bible. So yeah, I read the Gospels and I understood them, and I did not have a chance to read the Torah yet, but I'm seeing a lot of these things also in Islam, and I thought, that's actually really awesome. I get this. And before I knew it, I thought, this is something I want. I never even met a Muslim. I never found any Muslims. Everyone in my community was totally white, like ghetto, redneck white. I mean, not everyone, but if you ask anyone from where I'm from, what's it like, they're all going to be like, yeah, there's a lot of rednecks, everyone's really white. So when I converted and started wearing hijab, everyone was like, girl, you look Middle Eastern. You okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I converted to Islam. And they were like, what? What? I was like, yeah, seriously, I mean, what's wrong with that? They were like, well, we don't know. That's just kind of weird. Don't know any of them Muslims. Actually, I had more of a mixed response. That was half of it, and the other half was like, wow, you're a Muslim. That's really interesting. I wouldn't be Muslim, but that's really interesting, which is awesome. I love that response, because I have a really deep respect for people who are like, that's not my faith, but I want to learn more about it. So, anyway, I feel like I'm off topic. I don't know. So, I noticed that the nearest one was in Lafayette, Indiana. I came on a Tuesday, in between 6 and 7, because that's what it says to do on their website if you have any questions. So I walked in there, and literally no one was there. I was terrified, absolutely terrified. I knew to wear hijab, but I forgot to wear long sleeves, so I was wearing like a short sleeve shirt, hijab, and like a skirt. All I knew is I wanted to take my shahada. I didn't even know how to say the shahada, but I was like, I know this is what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do. So, I'm standing in there and I'm like, do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I'm totally bored. And I sit in there for like 15 minutes. Yeah, like 15 minutes. Which means I probably shouldn't have gotten that bored. Finally, this man comes in, like, olive skin, long beard. Looks like a professor. Probably is, because this is Purdue County, I look at him and he says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I didn't know what he was saying. So I was like, do you speak English? I want to take my shahada. And he looked at me, he was like, yes, I speak English. But this is good. I will find people so you can take your shahada. So he calls up all these people. Hello? There's a sister here who wants to take a shahada. Yeah, there's a sister here. She's from like Ladoga. I don't even know what that is. Yeah, salam, brother. Hey, yeah. We have a sister here who wants to take a shahada. And I was like, know what's going on. So finally the brother comes back and he says, "Sister, we should take you and put you in the women's room. Then you won't be bored. Hopefully there are sisters there, inshallah." Like I knew what inshallah meant. So I go over there, I'm like, do, because there aren't any sisters, it's just quiet. Just very, very quiet. I waited 45 minutes. Because I didn't know what I could touch. I knew that I couldn't touch the Quran because like the Arabic version, because I wasn't Muslim yet. So I saw these like Arabic novels and stuff on the walls. I thought, I don't know what I can touch. They all look like gibberish. Finally, I took my Shahada.
Now, how can something be two opposites at the same time? How can God be eternal and immortal and be temporary and mortal at the same time? How can God be self-sufficient and needy at the same time? How can something be all-knowing and ignorant of things at the same time? It doesn't mean anything. By definition, to say God became a man actually has no meaning. It's not something that can be a truth ever, because it's not something that can ever be proven. It's not something even comprehensible in terms of definition. It's like saying the square became a circle but still was a square. Yeah? The square became a circle but was still a square. That's what we're saying. God is defined by certain things. And man is defined by certain things. And those things are opposites. You can't be the same, you can't be the two things at the same time. In fact, that should be enough for anybody to realize the absurdity of the claim that Jesus is God. Jesus is perfect God and perfect man. It doesn't mean anything. You can't be perfectly knowing everything and perfectly not knowing everything at the same time. And for someone who often says, well, God can do anything, of course there are many replies to that. One of them is to answer it with another question. Well, can God do something evil? If He's a good God, and He is a God who is all good, can He do evil? If God is all-knowing, and God is wise, can He do something stupid? No, God has certain attributes. God has a certain nature that defines God. So by definition, that's what defines God. If God is immortal, He does not die. If God is self-sufficient, He does not eat and breathe. And we have too many descriptions in the gospel of Jesus, of His mortality. Of course, according to Christian theology, He dies on the cross. He's killed. Can you kill God? According to the Bible, Jesus doesn't know things. He's ignorant of things. He is weak. He forgets. He's human. He eats. He walks in the marketplace. He breathes air. This is Jesus. There's one amazing example that is so clear. It's the famous example of the fig tree, that one day Jesus is riding on a donkey. Think about it. Does God ride on a donkey? And He sees a fig tree and He feels hungry. So God is hungry. And He wants to eat some figs. So He goes to the fig tree and He finds there's no figs on the tree. That means from the donkey to the fig tree, He couldn't see whether there were figs or not. Is that someone who sees everything? He didn't even know there were no figs on the tree. And it becomes more surprising because when there were no figs on the tree, it says, because it wasn't the season for figs. So he didn't even know when the seasons were, and he's supposed to be the creator of the seasons. So we've got a God riding on a donkey who gets hungry, okay, who doesn't know whether there's figs on the tree and doesn't even know the seasons of the figs, right? And when he sees there's no figs on the tree, he gets so upset, he curses the fig tree and it withers and dies. Now, that is truly extraordinary. Because most Christians would say in defense is that, no, all of that was the human side of Jesus. The human side of Jesus was his riding on a donkey, his not knowing, his feeling hungry. But the God bit of Jesus was when he cursed the fig tree and it withered and died. Now, the extraordinary thing is that you have the divine side of Jesus, therefore, acting upon the human side and depending upon it. What does this mean? How can this ever be a truth? And then we have the other claim that Jesus is the Son of God. Now this is a question we really have to ask. What does a person mean by that? Words have meanings. What does it mean? Son of God. Now I know what it means about my son. I know what my son is. My son is the product of an intimate act that took place between me and my wife. And a son was born. Okay, that's my son. Yes, we all understand what that means. So do we mean that God literally begat? The word begat meaning sired. If God literally begat a son, that means God must have had intercourse. God must have begat a son means God must have had intimate relations with a woman. Of course, this is the very question the Quran asks. If Allah, God, had a son, then who is Allah's wife? If Allah had a son, who is his wife? Because God must have had intimate relations to have a son, literally. So most people would agree, no, we don't believe that. That's not what we say. We don't believe that Jesus is literally the Son of God. Okay, so what do you claim then? That God adopted Jesus as a son? Now again, we want to know, does that have any real meaning? So for example, if I brought along today a little poodle, okay, and I say, here's John, my son. Okay, now I know the Arabs in the audience are going to find this particularly funny, but for us English, you know, there are some English people who, believe me, they love their dogs more than they love their kids. Okay? But even so, if someone said, this dog is my son, even if they were English, you'd still say, no, wait a minute, that's a dog and you're a human being. And what if he goes on to say, no, he's my son, he eats with me at the table, the adoption papers are coming through next week, okay, this is my son. And you would say, look, you're a human being, that is a dog. You can't take a dog as your son. You have to take a human being as your son. Something like you. Yes? That's what we understand. It doesn't mean anything. It's an absurdity. In fact, you know how we insult people? We say, Ibn Qalb, you son of a dog. Huh? You say that someone is the son of a dog. Even in America they have it, you son of a dog. Okay? They have that. Okay, and the reason they have that is because you equate a human being with being like something that is less than a human being. So believe me, when the Prophet ﷺ, the messenger of God, who Allah sent to clarify the truth of all of these things, Muhammad, he said that Allah said, the son of Adam has insulted me. This is what Allah said. The son of Adam has insulted me and he had no right to do so. What right do we have to insult God? And as for our insulting God, that is our saying that God has a son. That is our saying that God, because we are not anything like God. We are small little specks. I flew in an aeroplane for 24 hours over the surface of this earth. I looked down from all the way up there, and humanity became what? Little specks. On an earth that is a little speck. in a solar system that is a speck on the outer spiral of our galaxy, the Milky Way, which is 10,000 light years across. Our galaxy is one of thousands of galaxies, millions of galaxies in the known universe. Even our galaxy is a speck. And we're going to say that God, the creator of the universe, this universe, which is, it's like a ring thrown in the desert compared to the kursi. This is what the prophet said. This universe is like a ring thrown in the desert compared to the kursi. And the kursi is like a ring thrown in the desert compared to the arsh, meaning the throne of God. The universe is an infinitesimally small speck compared to the throne of God. And we're going to say, God was a speck in a speck in a speck. God's Son was a speck. That is insulting God. There is no doubt. God is totally free from such a thing. He doesn't need a son. He is in no need of a son. And he is in no need to kill an innocent human being in order to forgive people's sins. All you have to do is to recognize that you have done something that is offensive to God, and from the bottom of your heart seek and pray and beg for his forgiveness.